So in this video, I'm going to be talking about something that is very important if you run an agency, and that is how to actually keep your clients. Everyone's focused on getting clients, but they oftentimes forget that it's not a given that once you sign a client, they will stay with you. In fact, most agency owners that I've talked to are losing clients on average after the first or second month. And right here you can see a screenshot, and actually, because the screenshot doesn't really mean anything, I'll actually just pull up my Stripe account right here. And you can see this is one of the very first clients that I signed. I'm gonna have to blur out quite a bit here, like his information and stuff, but this is one of the very first clients that I signed. He has paid me for 8 consecutive months. You can see all the payments right here. I've collected $14,000 in cash from this one client alone. You can see the second payment right here failed. His card got declined immediately. In 3 days, he gave me updated card info. Besides that, he's paid me for 8 consecutive months. So today I'm going to give, 10 tips that I've used to have a very good retention rate. Whenever I tell other agency owners how long my clients stay with me, they're always very surprised. And I've noticed that it's a very big issue in this space is people are not putting focus on actually keeping the clients that they sign. And because of this, if they were to stop doing outreach, if they were to stop running ads, all their cash flow would be wiped out within 90 days. So I'm going to be giving you guys 10 tips so you can actually keep your clients and collect this much cash and potentially more from just one client. Okay, so tip number one for a reason. It's very important. I think this is one of the biggest reasons most people lose their clients in the first month, and it's that you need to set realistic expectations. So if it takes 2 weeks for your ads to start producing results, you need to tell your clients this. You need to make sure that they understand the complete timeline on expected outcomes, okay? Most clients are lost from either not setting realistic expectations or not setting any expectations at all. Remember that you've already sold them. Giving them unrealistic expectations only hurts you and them, right? So you don't need to tell them that some crazy result is going to happen in 7 days after you've already sold them. So an example of this is one of my very first clients. So, when I was running ads and calling the leads for real estate agents, we're essentially trying to generate them what are known as live transfers, which are, an appointment that is handed over live over the phone. And for my very first client, the first 3 weeks were completely dry, right? The Facebook ads were bringing in leads, but none of the live transfers came in until the last week. All 5 of them, which is what I guaranteed him, came on the very last week, okay? And most of them came in the span of 3 days. So going forward, I told every single client that I onboarded, hey, it is very possible that no results come in until the last week on the first month, right? So I was setting very realistic expectations. Sometimes live transfers will come in the first week, but not always, right? So you always want to set an expectation that is kind of a little extreme, because then worst case scenario, if that scenario does play out, they've already been kind of prepared for it. Whereas if you just promise them super good results within the first week, and the likelihood of that happening, depending on your service, is probably not very high. And if you give them that expectation, they're going to be waiting those first 2 weeks, and they're going to be building a ton of resentment towards you when nothing happens. So even if you do get them good results on the third or fourth week, because you set these unrealistic expectations for them and they expected a lot more, they're kind of going to become crashing down from this high where they were expecting a ton of good results very quickly, and because of this they end up leaving, right? So make sure that you're setting very, very, very realistic expectations, almost like the worst case scenario. And just make sure you're setting some type of expectations. I think this is one of the biggest reasons why people lose clients, is because they just don't set any expectations. And then a lot of services, like if you're running ads, it might take a couple weeks to test those ads and find what's working. You need to communicate this to your clients, okay? So tip number 2 is to create a smooth onboarding process, because this is the first impression that your client has working with your agency. So you want to make them feel like they made the right choice, right? The onboarding process, it needs to be smooth, it needs to be professional, and it needs to be flawless, okay? Now by default, the first 1 to 2 clients that you onboard, it might be a little bit messy. That's okay. That's normal. You're doing it for the first 2 times, but after that, it's very important that you take what you learn from those first 2, onboarding sessions, and you create this very smooth and flawless process for onboarding new customers, okay? This is something that you want to continuously put emphasis on improving, even if it takes money, even if it takes time. It's one of the best things that you can invest into, okay? I would recommend keeping a checklist on each onboarding call, especially for those first 3 to 5. Because, if you forget one little thing, like having them add their payment to the ad account, it doesn't look so professional when you have to reach out to them after the onboarding call and you have to have them add something to Business Manager or Go High Level, right? It's all these little things that just make the experience a little rocky. So I just recommend keeping a checklist and checking it off while you're on that call with them, ensuring that everything that needs to get done gets done, okay? So tip number 3 is, if you've read your Alex Hormozi, you know how important it is to get your clients an early win. Yes, some services take time, but you must do everything in your power to deliver some sort of tangible value within the first week. So one example might be running a database reactivation campaign on their old leads. It really doesn't matter what it is as long as it delivers value. So get creative, right? You want to find some sort of mechanism to deliver value to your clients within those first 7 days, right? So if the ad campaign, which is the main service that you're doing for them, if it takes a couple weeks to get going, and it likely does, you want to get creative and find some sort of additional service or process that will deliver them value instantly, right? So a lot of niches, they're going to have, like med spas, they're going to have a list of old customers. Well, while you're waiting to get their ads up and running and testing them, you can take all their old leads, upload them into Go High Level, and run a database reactivation campaign on them. So, within the first couple of days, they're already booking appointments with all these old leads that they just had lying around. But most importantly, you're delivering them value as soon as possible, okay? So tip number 4 is using PandaDocs. And I'm sure a lot of other softwares do this. I just know that PandaDocs does it. And PandaDocs will actually show you when a client is viewing the contract weeks after signing it, right? So it'll show you when they go back into that email and they're looking at the terms of the contract weeks after it's already been signed. And this acts as an early warning signal that the client is planning on potentially leaving, right? Because if they're looking at your contract weeks after they've already signed with you, right, it's probably because they're looking at what the guarantee is or how soon they can get out of the contract. It's normally not a good thing, okay? So you can use this as a sign to either ramp up their campaign, give them some type of bonus, or just get them on a call and say, hey, what's up? I saw you viewing the contract. Is there anything that is, not going as planned, or anything that you expected to happen that didn't happen? And you can kind of sort it out on that call. Or, if the campaign's going very slow, you can very quickly just go in there and, spend a ton of hours figuring out what's not working, just get it up as soon as possible. So it acts as kind of an early warning sign that your client is not happy about something. And because you get this early warning signal, you can go in and you can try to fix the problem, before the consequence of that problem really takes place, okay? So that's tip number 4. Tip number 5 is to decrease the effort and sacrifice required from your clients as much as possible. So in other words, or simply put, you need to try to solve for the entire sales cycle, okay? So can you really be shocked that your client left after a month when you're sending them all these very low quality Facebook lead form leads and you're having them call and qualify them themselves? Like, you're not solving for the entire sales cycle. You're having your clients pay you to call a bunch of low quality leads and qualify them themselves. They're just paying you to get a new problem. That's not a good problem, right? Some problems are good, right? Like if I have to pay $500,000 in taxes, that's a good problem because it means I'm making a lot of money. But if I have to call a bunch of low quality leads, that's a bad problem, especially when you're paying for it, okay? So a simple way to fix this is just solving for the entire sales cycle, right? That's why, my service had an ISA. I wasn't sending all these low quality Facebook leads for my clients to waste time calling themselves. I invested money into an ISA team that would call and qualify all those leads for my clients. So the only leads they had to interact with were the ones that were already pre-qualified, right? And because of this, it required less effort and sacrifice from the client. And because of this, they stay with me longer because they're getting their desired result while putting in less effort and sacrifice, right? So right now, if you're sending all these leads to your clients for them to call themselves, you cannot be surprised when they end up leaving after a couple months, right? So do whatever you need to do. Get a call team, get an ISA. Obviously, it's harder to do in other niches, but that's why you're a business owner. That's why these businesses are paying your agency. They're paying your agency to solve these problems, right? And that's, like people are always like, oh, well, I don't want to hire a call team. That's hard. Well, yeah, that's why these businesses are paying you, because you're meant to solve problems for them, okay? So that is tip number 5. And with doing this, it's not just going to increase your retention, but it increases the value of your offer, right? If you read Alex Hormozi's book, you know that decreasing the effort and sacrifice required from your clients increases the value of your offer. And the more valuable that your offer is, the more money you can ask for it, okay? So tip number 6 is to send your clients a gift after 30 days of working with you, okay? So this can be something as small as a few books and a Starbucks gift card, but it will leave a lasting good impression simply because no one else is doing it, okay? So not only will it build a stronger relationship, but they will be more likely to bring you referrals to reciprocate the favor, okay? So most top companies, they won't even allow their employees to accept gifts from other companies because they understand how strong the principle of reciprocation is, right? If you give someone a gift, they're much more likely to reciprocate that favor. And because of this, it doesn't just leave a good impression on your clients, but they're much more likely to give you a referral to return the favor, right? So if you're in the real estate niche, you can send them all of Gary Keller's books, right? So Gary Keller is one of the co-founders of the Keller Williams brokerage. He wrote a lot of really good books that are directed towards real estate agents. You can send them all of his books with maybe like a $50 Starbucks gift card, right? They're not going to forget you, right? And do it after the first 30 days because you want to make sure that, that they don't leave you before you kind of invest the money in that gift, depending on how much your services cost, right? So I would recommend just waiting, the first 30 days, okay? So tip number 7, invest time and money into making your client experience as good as possible. So stop worrying about your margins. If you have 80% margins as an agency owner, 1, you either don't care about your clients because you're not investing money back into your service, or 2, you are handling 80% of the work because you have no employees, okay? So don't worry so much about profit margins, right? Invest into creating an amazing client experience and getting better results month to month, right? So before you buy your first Rolex, you should be investing into hiring client success managers, right? If you're buying a Rolex before you're investing money back into your service, is very selfish, right? And the only reason you're able to buy that Rolex is because of your clients. So why would you not invest money back into making that experience better? And doing this, right, not only is it the right thing to do as a smart agency owner, but it's going to increase your retention and it's going to increase the amount of money that you can charge, okay? So it's going to pay for itself 10 times over. It just might be more of a long-term reward, okay? So tip number 8, this one's very important. Audit the clients who get the best results with you and look for similarities while closing new clients. So it's possible that a very specific type of client is more likely to get better results with you. So for example, maybe a real estate agent who was previously a client with Zillow, they're much more likely to get better results with you because they have experience closing online leads. And because of this, because they get better results with you, they're going to stay with you longer, right? So what can you do? Because you notice that there's this similarity that all the Zillow agents do better with your services, will start only targeting Zillow agents in your outreach. And because of this, you're going to be meeting with clients who are much more likely to get better results with your service. And if they're more likely to get better results, they're more likely to stay longer, right? So audit all your clients who are doing well and look for similarities. And you can kind of create this avatar of clients who are more likely to do better with your services. And then you can start only outreaching or running ads to them, okay? So tip number 9. This one I got from Alex Hormozi, like a lot of the other tips on this list. Whenever a client churns, conduct an interview to learn about the reasons why they are leaving. So not only will this give you unique insights to help you improve your services, but it actually gives you an opportunity to upsell that client, okay? So say you got a notice from one of your clients. They said, hey, this isn't working out for me. I'm gonna have to cut off the relationship here. Well, you can get them on a quick interview and you can ask them the reason why they're leaving, okay? So say, for example, they tell you that the reason why they're leaving is because you're making them call all the leads. What you can do is you can upsell them on a call center, so you can actually charge them more to solve that problem that they weren't getting solved by you, and that's the only reason that they left in the first place. So not only do you keep a client that would have left, but you can you can upsell them and actually make more money. And even if that doesn't happen, you're going to gather insights on what the exact problem is with your service, and then you can take some money and you can put it into fixing that. So then when you onboard your next client, they're much less likely to leave for the same reason. Okay. So tip number 10 is, it's very simple, but it's people don't practice it enough, and it's having a real relationship with your clients. Don't just talk about the service. Ask them how their Thanksgiving was. Ask them how their family's doing. Talk to them like a real human. Speak to them like a friend instead of a client. Not only will they be much more open and honest with you about what's not working with your service, but they're much more less likely to leave, because now they actually, they feel like you're one of their friends, right? So this can lead to them also, telling you the truth about your services, and sometimes the truth is good, and then you can improve your services much faster, okay? And this way you get the insights before your clients leave, whereas before you could only get those insights when your clients leave. But if your clients are like friends with you, they're really going to tell you what's wrong with your service while they're working with you, and because of this you can improve it much faster, okay? So these are 10 tips. I hope they help. If you implement all of them, you should have a very good retention. And something I realized I forgot to do is I'll actually go back to my Stripe account and I'll refresh it just to show you guys that it is 100% real. So as you guys can see, I'm refreshing it right now, and you guys can see nothing has changed. I will have to blur out quite a bit, but nothing has changed. $14,000 cash collected from this one client, one of my very first clients, and I've kept him with me this long by implementing these 10 tips. So I hope this was helpful. If you got value from this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe.